Let's dive into creating a story. Now, you may have seen Story Bible or Story Engine in some videos and thought it was just too much. You didn't want the AI to do all of that. You want to write more and just have AI offer you a little bit of help here and there. This screen right here and this first feature we're going to go over is for you. You can type. It looks blank. I know. We're going to fix that. The first thing you want to do is we're going to look at this right setting, and you'll see it's grayed out and it's telling me I need 20 words before the cursor, at least 20 words. So this is really good for like discovery writers. I can start typing right here. Let's just go with hands are covered in blood. Literally, not figuratively. Smell of iron. Smell of iron overwhelmed my senses. And the feel of blood was, I don't know how I want to do that. But now I have at least 20 words. You can see up here I have 23 words. So I can leave my cursor here and I can go into this right section now. And before you can't even do this drop down until you have that 20 words. And that's what I want to show you first before we dive into actually having it generate some things. If you click the drop down menu, you'll see some settings. Come down here to your right settings. And this is where you can adjust some creativity. Think of this as your temperature. If you're really happy with the way your story's going, the voice is on point, you want it to just flow nice and smooth from there, you might want to keep it around this. If you need some new ideas introduced, your story's just it doesn't have that oomph that you want, and you need some brand new ideas to incorporate, you might want these. A lot of people just leave it in the middle, which is actually where I tend to leave it. The cards right here. So again, everything on this right, that's going to be a card. You'll see what gets generated as we use these laser tools, but it'll be in similar versions like this. So this tells me how many cards I want, and I just tend to go with 2. And then I can determine how many words are inside each card. And I usually go with about 150, I believe. So now when I go to use some of these laser tools, I'm going to have 2 cards, 150 words in each card. This key details. I could put my genre, kids that I wanted. We're actually doing first person. First person past tense. Now, when we're using the right, it looks back at your style. So this also isn't necessary unless you really want those elements pulled in. So if I'm doing a romance, but maybe I haven't done a lot of romantic elements so far in my writing, I might want to include the romance here. Or if it's fantasy for the same reasons, I would really want to focus, hey, this is fantasy. Give me some fantasy elements. So that's some things you could put there. You can also do information. That's when I use key details the most, is like if I'm doing a transition theme. If I was going into this one, I could say I would have to give my character a name, and I do it this way. Main character is lying on the kitchen floor after having someone to death. If I put this in my key details, It knows this is some information that happens. This should be what is currently happening or what just happened, not what you want to happen. This just helps guide it to let it know where you want the story to start going towards. So this is something to keep up with. If you put things like this in here, definitely keep up with it and change it as you need. Tone shift, ominous, fantastical, fast paced, upbeat, authoritative, conflicted, romantic, sensual. I'm going to leave it at ominous. I write a lot of dark romance, so that tends to stay there anyways. But feel free to change these up. And you could also change this up as you went. So again, you're liking the voice, you're liking the way the story's going. You just need a slight little tone change. You can come in here to do that. And the first thing we are going to focus on is the auto write, and then we'll go into the guided write. Auto write, let's hover over here so you can see. Place your cursor at the end of the text, click right. Click right here, and Sudowrite's going to continue it. More information you have, the better. A lot of times this might, especially since we only have a couple of sentences, this might not flow very well, and I'll need to edit and start building this up. If I were to bring in a half-written chapter and then proceed to start finishing it, it would have more of a context because it can read back up to 1,000 words. I'm just going to have my cursor here, and I'm going to click write. And remember, I have this information in the key details, I had the ominous tone, and I told it what had happened. I'm just going to click write. And it'll pop up over here. You can see I have my 2 cards. This is one card, and this is another. Everything the AI generates, all of these words, obviously I'm probably not going to use all of these in both cards, but all of these words still came out of my word count, out of my subscription words or word packs, whatever part you're on. So let's read through this real quick. Feel of the blood was sticky and warm against my skin. I couldn't believe what I had just done. The body of my victim lay only a few feet away, lifeless and unmoving. I had stabbed them over and over again till they were nothing more than a bloody mess on the kitchen floor. Okay. As I lay there trying to catch my breath, my mind raced with thoughts and questions. How had I gotten to this point? That is a really good question. I have no clue yet. Why had I felt the need to do such a thing? I might use some of these, but actually, they would guide me more. Not be in my prose necessarily, but they would start guiding me to help me think of the story because, we just made this up on the spot. But as the minutes passed, my mind began to clear and a sense of calm settled over me. I realized that I had done what needed to be done. My victim was a danger to me and to others, and I had eliminated that threat. It was a harsh reality, but it was the truth. With a deep breath, I stood up and walked over to the sink. I turned on the water and began to wash the blood from my hands. I actually like it. Needs some editing. And of course, it reads kind of funny because we're just saying victim and, we don't have the names, some specificities. Alternative card. The feel of the blood was sticky and warm against my skin. Couldn't believe what had just happened, but the body on the floor was a reminder that it wasn't just a nightmare. I liked that opening better. I started to panic, wondering what would happen to me if anyone discovered what I had done. My mind raced, trying to come up with a plan to cover up the evidence. As I sat there, my thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. My heart skipped a beat and I froze in terror. I knew I had to act fast. I quickly wiped my hands on a towel and carefully made my way to the door. Writing 101, we know that's just not going to get rid of all the blood, correct? So I quickly wiped my hands on a towel and carefully made my way to the door. My breath was shallow and rapid as I opened it, revealing a tall, handsome man standing on the other side. Hi, I'm Detective Jonathan Smith, he introduced himself, flashing his badge. Mind if I come in? I hesitated for a moment, but eventually stepped aside and let him in. He sat down at the kitchen table and he began to ask me, okay, so I like the opening of this better. The rest of it doesn't flow well because unless a neighbor made a call or something, how is it a detective is still here or there so quickly? And of course, in our key details, we put that this happened in the kitchen. Here they are sitting down at the kitchen table. That we know that's not going to write or read well. And this is what we mean when we say you need to read what the AI gives you and validate everything. I am actually going to combine these two things before we move into the guided write. So I like this one, this opening. This is what I like. So I'm just going to copy it here. Now I'm going to show you these options that you have. If I had wanted to put this whole thing in, I can just click insert, have my mouse wherever, click insert. Wherever I have my mouse is when it's going to insert. So if I have my mouse here in the middle of the paragraph accidentally, well, it's going to insert right there. Or I can just click copy if I want to do the whole thing and bring it wherever I need to be. And you'll see the thumbs up and thumbs down. And this is how you can let them know if things were good or if something went way off track. This really helps if you can get into the habit of doing this on all of the features. It helps them spot any errors, like any trends, like something is continually messing up. And then we can favorite things. So I'm going to favorite this one, the little star. This is what I was talking about in the other video when I mentioned our history. History has all of your cards. But if I just want to have some favorites, I come into the star and it's just going to have any of them that I marked with that star. So I liked a portion of this too. Let's see. Mind race, trying to come up with a plan to cover up the evidence. I'm just going to copy these. This isn't perfect because I don't want to take up a lot of time here. I do like the first question. I'm going to put that in. I had stabbed a human being over and over again until they were nothing more than a bloody mess on the kitchen floor. As I lay there trying to catch my breath, my mind raced with thoughts and questions. How had I gotten to this point? Would anyone understand why I had done this? Did I even understand? Right, as the minutes passed, mine began to clear, so I like this. I'm going to take that. Turn on the water and begin to wash the blood from my hands. I'm going to leave it there. I could put a period because that's an obvious choice, but sometimes the AI surprises me. I'm going to leave it. It might give us a little description there. Who knows? So now we're going to move on to guided write. So this was auto write. The first one, auto write. And we have the key details right here. So again, if I could click auto write again. Let's see. I turn on the water, begin to wash the blood from my hands. If I just click it again, same thing. Oh, and she couldn't help but feel. So I'm going to put the period because that's the way they're starting. I don't like these. These are starting to derail. So what it ran on my hands, I couldn't help but think about the person I had just killed. Their face flashed through my mind, and I felt a pang of guilt in my chest. But then I remembered the fear in their eyes, the threat they posed to me and to others. The guilt slowly dissipated, replaced by a sense of satisfaction. And that one's actually not bad. I'm not really happy with it either. So let's move on to guided write. So you have some options with guided write. I can give it some ideas right here of what I want to happen next and let it generate some suggestions, or I can just turn suggestions on right here. All right, so she washed the blood from her hands. I tried to find a way to dispose of the body without anyone noticing. I take a moment to compose myself before leaving the scene. I call a friend ally to ask for help in covering up the crime. Okay, she's in the kitchen. In my mind, it's her kitchen, so she wouldn't leave the scene. Try to find a way of disposing the body. We're going to go with that one. And again, it's going to generate my 2 cards, up to 150 words in each. The next step was to figure out how to hide the body. I had to think fast, and I had very few options that would give me enough time to get away before anyone noticed. My heart pounding, I went back over the events of the night in my mind, searching for anything that could help me with my plan. First, I knew I needed to move the body away from its current location. It wouldn't take them long to figure out it was gone if they found it in the same room as me. Okay, I'm not liking that. She wraps the body in a tarp, drags it outside to the garden. So very technical, almost clinical sounding. I mean, I kind of like the openings, but I don't love it. The work to clean the evidence away, my mind began to focus on what I needed to do next. My biggest concern was getting rid of the body without anyone noticing. It would be difficult, as I had no car and no one around to help me. Bury the body in the nearby woods. I'm liking this one. Okay. So I'm just going to come down here, get my cursor in place, and I'm just going to insert this whole thing. And you'll see it's in purple. And it stays that way until you make some sort of edits. I delete that, put it back. So now it's all white. And anything I haven't touched yet is purple. All right, let's try guided right. So with determination in my heart, put on my clothes, grabbed no blanket from the closet. I carefully wrapped up the body and I'm going to guide it right. She didn't have a car, so I would actually have to fix this and edit, but I want her to help the body and drove forest. For example, that's not great, right? But you know what? That's what we're going with. And then it'll continue. I told it my suggestion of what happened next, so now it's going to continue from there. So this is a way, again, for pantsers, discovery writers to just type and keep going and then use the AI right here under the right settings, these different tools to help guide you whenever you're just stuck on a plot point or you don't know quite how to get from one scene to the next. All right. In the next video, we will be diving into some of the other laser tools.